Question is, which other country on earth have you seen what is happening in Nigeria? Where the people come out proudly, freely, comfortably to say that they don't need their president anymore. They are not asking much. First of all, they came out to tell you that there is hunger in the land, of which we all know. An hungry man is an angry man, because when you are hungry, you can't control your emotion. What did the Nigeria president did afterwards? He came out to come and preach to us and tell us that he don't want to rethink or revise anything that he has done. And he was telling us indirectly, una just there for the better position, the worst is still coming, And the people of Kaduna State decide not to accept it. But I don't really know if they are going the right way by flagging, by throwing, waving the Russian flag. That I don't know. But see for yourself.
They call it the mode of protest. This come after the Mr. President's speech on Sunday morning, which he could not address any of their plight. So they say a hungry man is an angry man. So short while there was a police in this place, but due to the strong number of the people, they chased them away. So this is Kaduna.
That was unbelievable to see. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State Police Command has arrested 39 suspects in connection with inciting violence and displaying the Russian flag, as well as vandalizing public and private property in various parts of the state capital. The suspects included the tailor who produced the Russian flags and Chinese flags for the protesters. The spokesman for the state's police command, Mansur Hassan, said the suspects exploited the End Bad Governance protest and unleashed violence against innocent residents. He also said some protesters overran an armored personnel carrier loaded with live ammunition in the Tudunwada area of the state. Rufai, Ayo, Dr. Abati, this video was circulating on social media and people were saying that, the protesters hijacked the armored vehicle. But obviously that didn't happen because the police has now come out to say that the policeman was still in the vehicle and it was just that the protesters, surrounded the vehicle. But also the issue of the Russian flag. You all have discussed it, which is, treasonable at most. Horrific scenes that we saw in Kaduna State. I believe about 800 suspects have been arrested so far in Kaduna State. And as I said, the governor has imposed a 24-hour curfew to put calm in the state. But we also saw other videos. We saw videos circulating of young people were calling for the military to intervene. Let's take a look. Batim, that was another scene that was quite shocking. So many dimensions to this story, which I would like for us to discuss. I mean, you saw the military there. At least this time around, they displayed calm. They were asking the protesters to get off their vehicle, and also the policeman we saw earlier, they showed courtesy to the protesters. Well, in the meantime, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, after a high-level security meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Monday, warned protesters against flying foreign flags, saying that it is a treasonable offense. Musa also condemned those pushing for a change of government, stating that security agencies will defend democracy.
We're also aware that all of us have seen it, where some foreign flags have been flown within the sovereignty of Nigeria, and that is totally unacceptable. We are warning in clear terms, and the President has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is a treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also, the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and ensure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government.
All right, this is quite reassuring. It's good to see that the security forces here are saying that they stand for democracy, because obviously that is the only way, our nation can stand. It's good to see General Christopher Musa there address us in the manner that he has done.
I mean, I'm excited that he has reassured us, but I'd like to talk about what is happening in Katsina and Kano. It's very sad that we have young people now being used for all sorts of political messaging, especially coming out from that flank. Now, I realize it's not only the Russian flag, it's also the Chinese flag, which are some sub-sentiments around the West African area. And these sentiments stem from Niger. And that's why we'd like to say boldly, nobody must use this protest to be able to push Russian or Chinese or Nigerian propaganda. This is about hunger, this is about poverty. And anybody that is beating this drumbeat of war must be cautioned. Those people they're just being used. Those children, I must say. Because look at them, they're kids. But that is also a sore point as regards Nigeria. The level of poverty, deprivation, and hunger that makes it easy for you to use children to do something like that, to drive home a point like that. So the military must investigate. Absolutely. That tailor must tell us who gave him the brief to make those flags. He must be forced to talk, and other people connected with him, be it people in the political sector, one way or the other, must be made to account for that. Because these people are just trying to turn the protest for their own selfish interests. And secondly, the protesters singing, it's also part of the script that they want the military. We don't want the military.
Yeah. And they've said that
the military government is not a better government. Let's stop acting like they were heroes when they led. The military is not good for Nigeria. No matter how much we have our problems democratically, I can never, on God's earth, support a return to the tyrannical rule of the military. Please, let's get that clear once and for all.
Good point, Rufai. But Dr. Bati, it's good to see that, they've arrested the tailor, and the fact still remains that we are still waiting for the sponsors of the protest. The Kaduna State government has said that they are at this moment interviewing the tailors that we saw there on the screen, and they hopefully will release some names very soon. But before I come to you, Dr. Abati, several posts on social media has suggested that one of the flags behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his national address on Sunday was Russian. To set the record straight, the second flag behind the national flag, which bore 4 colors, red, blue, white, and green, belongs to the Nigerian Armed Forces. It signifies that Tinubu is the commander-in-chief as well as the president. The four-band flag should not be confused with the Russian flag, which has three colors: white, blue, and red. Dr. Abati, I know that we have had this type of conversation before about the flags
of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. That flag that you see behind the president, that's a flag signifying that he's Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Behind the president, usually, you will have the Nigerian flag, then you have the flag, which says he's Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So, I don't know. The people who were the tailors in Kaduna and in Kano who were sewing the flag, they left out the green color.
Yeah.
And that is why people are saying, oh, it is the flag of Russia. So there's some confusion here. Whether one is the Russian flag or it is the flag of the Nigerian military, which is the one that makes our president Commander-in-Chief. But whatever it is, if it is the Russian flag, we have to be worried.
Yes.
It's a big warning to the Nigerian government. It's a lot of caution for the Nigerian government. Considering the role that Russia and the Wagner mercenaries have played in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali.
Absolutely.
Professor Akinterewa, who is a subject area expert, has said that in fact he suspects that those people carrying the so-called Russian flag are probably persons from Niger. If Professor Akinterewa has information and is right on what he's saying, then we should be worried that there is such a huge population of people from Niger in northern Nigeria. And that's why I think yesterday it was a good idea that the president summoned an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, which was attended not just by the service chiefs, but also by the heads of customs, immigration, civil defense, and other security agencies in Nigeria. Because we run a risk here. People of Ukraine and the West are not likely to be happy that people are already carrying Russian flags inside Nigeria. In Kano, in fact, the report in Daily Trust newspaper said people were saying, welcome Russia, welcome Russia. No, Russia is not welcome here. Because that will turn this environment called Nigeria into a battleground for proxy war, which is what we do not want. The Russians, they are in aluminum smelter company in the south. They used to be part of Ajaokuta, and they are no longer there. So there is some Russian interest here. And Russia is also seeking to expand its interest in West Africa.
Yes.
Now, the analysis has also said those carrying Russian flags, if they are from Niger, they are probably protesting against President Tinubu because of his role as chairman of ECOWAS in standing up against military intervention in Niger. Right. Now, the second part of it is military intervention. In fact, that is high treason.
Absolutely.
We do not want military intervention. After the return to civilian democracy in 1999, all the commentaries we did at that time, we were saying this is the second liberation for Nigeria. We do not want to enter into another era of dictatorship and occupation in Nigeria. Irony of it, of course, is that the military, they made their own contribution. That's not what I'm saying. The civilians have not even done as well as they did. But that does not justify military occupation of Nigeria. So the security agencies have their work cut out for them. And General Christopher Gwambin Musa, CG Musa, as it's otherwise known, spoke very well. By saying the military is committed to protecting this environment called Nigeria and the democracy that is inside Nigeria.
Right.
The irony again is that it's in the north that they are calling Russia, calling military. I've not heard anybody in the south talking about Russia or military rule. So again, the country is divided.
Well, if I come to you again, we at Arise News, we absolutely condemn any form of military intervention. We need democracy. Well, in Abuja, security forces fired tear gas at protesters who gathered at the Moshood Abiola Stadium on Monday morning, despite the president's address on Sunday, urging protesters to discontinue the protest. While some of the protesters said that the president was yet to address their demands. Top on their list was the return of petrol subsidy and the overhaul of NNPC, as they called for the sack of the National Oil Company's group head, Mele Kyari.
And they are using subsidy to do corruption. If he knows that he has come to stop corruption, as he has said, let him sack the GM of NNPC. We will keep on coming here till he has addressed the needs of the people. What he has addressed now is the needs of the elite, political elite and governors. So he didn't address our needs. We will be coming till we see that nobody will be calling your phone that they have not eaten since the day before yesterday.
Tinubu should probe the subsidy regime. First of all, remove the man that presided over corruption in the subsidy regime that made all of us to be suffering. Tinubu, we are calling on you. Restructure subsidy. They say seek ye the kingdom of God first. Other things shall follow. Tinubu, return subsidy. Every other thing will follow.
They're still asking for it, Ayo. Tinubu must probe the subsidy regime. But Ayo, remember that over the weekend, we saw a 2019 video showing the group managing director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, promising to repair Nigeria's 4 national refineries before 2023, sparking a wave of criticism. Let's take a look at that video.
Why can we be an oil-producing country with 4 refineries and yet importing sometimes 100% of our petroleum product requirement? It's very sad. The GMD Emeritus has told you the steps that we have taken when the Port Harcourt refinery is going to be in place. But I assure you, GMD will follow it up to make sure that within the life of this administration, before Baba's tenure ends in 2023, we'll deliver only 4 refineries.
That was a beautiful round of applause there, Ayo. But you know, it's not just the protesters that are calling for the sack. There are, you know, some members of the House of Representatives have also called for his sack.
Yeah, some people have also defended him. So he had that two people, 2 sides. But going back to what he said, he didn't just make that statement. I recall when he came to the morning show for an interview, he'd given us a timeline of when the 4 refineries would work. And of course, the timelines have passed. Very recently, they'd said that the Port Harcourt refinery will begin to work by the end of last year. By the end of last year, they came out with a big show saying that it was mechanically completed, that the main aspect of the refinery was completed, and by March of this year, we'll begin to see action from Port Harcourt refinery. I don't know about you, but we haven't seen any action. The truth is that if we're looking at an organization, any kind, either private or public, there should be processes of appraisal, especially when you've been given targets as an employee. In terms of what have you done, have you been able to meet? We cannot continue to build our nation on false promises that when they are broken, there are no consequences. So people just come out to read speeches, give assurances. This was before this present administration, when it was promising that by the end of Baba's tenure, they were going to see the 4 refineries. 1 is not even working. Yet we keep expending and allocating a lot of money towards the repair of these refineries. There are a number of things. At best, or at worst, actually, an investigation.
That's it.
How has the money that have been allocated been spent at best? Number 2, what has been done? And why can't these refineries work? We keep talking about the fact that the fuel price, one of the reasons for the protest is the high cost of PMS and the attendant effect on other things, cost of living, food and the likes. And this is what a number of Nigerians are protesting about. If this is such a key issue that the president ought to address, then the fact that it's not working and the man at the helm of affairs must also be brought to answer, to answer certain questions. I'm not saying he's the only one working, but truthfully, as the GMD, the buck stops with him.
Yes.
He is the leader.
Yes.
He has some explaining to do, and I believe, as I've continued to say, that Nigerians deserve explanations that Mr. Kyari should give.
You hit the nail on the head, Ayo. The problem, like we've always said on this table, is a problem of leadership. He is the leader of NNPC. We need answers. But we're seeing protests everywhere at this moment. Our next story is in Bangladesh. We also had issues in the United Kingdom where, 3 young girls were killed and these far-right people are out there, screaming. But the Nigerian government has issued a tribal advisory to Nigerians to avoid traveling to the United Kingdom at the moment. But let's take our